Welcome to Ruck and Roll Rugby. And in today's one, I'm actually going to be reacting to Beauden Barrett chats about the Springbok clash on the Aotearoa Rugby podcast. This podcast has been on for a while. I'm sure most of you guys have watched it. I found it really interesting that they featured Beauden Barrett actually after the win against the Springboks, and I was curious to see what he had to say. So let's get into it.
It's good to be here.
Nice. Awesome game on the weekend. Great progression from Mendoza, I guess. We've talked a lot around the breakdown area, and it's been such a positive for you guys in the last two games. But then also your attacking side, your attacking kicking games. I don't know how many times you would have done those attacking kicks, but you guys are operating like 55% contestables back or attacking kicks.
So. Oh look, as you know, the breakdown's critical.
I mean, guys, how good was these All Blacks at the breakdowns? They, especially the first half hour, maybe.
One way to stop
even the first half.
Stop the set piece or slow the ball down at the breakdown, or make us put in more numbers. But yeah, it's something that we see as critical for us, a set piece and the way we look after the ball, recycling and being able to play at a speed that we, I guess, feel that teams are chasing us, and that gives us.
By the way, let me just get in there. I just wanted to say that he's talking about the speed of the game. Now, that's the two things that I think that the All Blacks did really well against the Springboks. The number one thing they did is they cleaned the Springboks off the ball. So they were just more aggressive and just quicker to breakdowns. And there was enough numbers to clean the Springboks off of the balls. So the Springboks just couldn't get enough numbers at the breakdowns quick enough. And the next thing that I would say is the speed they played with. Because they played at such a furiously fast speed, they tired out a lot of the bigger type players of the Springboks, because we know the Springboks are bigger type players. So they just pushed them all over the field and chased them around. So him mentioning there the speed of the game, and that's something that the All Blacks has been good at.
Get the ball to the space where we want it to go far more quicker, which, as you saw in the first 15 minutes, that was some of the quickest rugby we've ever played. And the challenge was the box. Of course, they adapted, and in the second half, you saw a different. We're under the pressure a bit more.
And try from Fazal with one for the record books. He's put himself on the map now.
And we didn't get the pay that we did early on, but the kicking game as well. It's so important these days with defences.
It's like Bodie is just kind of naming all the stuff that was exactly the stuff that they just outplayed the Springboks on, and that was the third thing that I would say is just
off the foot.
their kicking was sublime, up and unders,
because for a couple of years,
and he was the culprit. He was one of the best, probably the best on the field with the way that he kicked.
Through a pass like you did on the weekend, the bridge pass to Will. But there's been an improvement in there. Has that just been through the communication?
And how did this guy find Will Jordan over the weekend? It was just...
To be honest, I think every team struggled to attack line speed in recent times, and we're just getting better at learning how to deal with it, how to play against it. The comparisons between the way the Argentinians defend versus the box. It's so different. Like the Argies are probably the best at holding and pushing, whereas the box will come and be a bit more confrontational and try and shut down your time on the ball. So,
which sounds really good, and when it pulls off, and the Springboks do kind of like the umbrella defense where they've got their wingers kind of shoot out. If they get it right and they suffocate with that defense and they can suffocate the ball and shut it down, it is probably one of the worst kind of defending styles. But then, it doesn't always work out, where if you look at the likes of Argentina, they go more in a structured type, phase type of pushing type defense, which, it's like I've said before, the Springboks, high risk, high reward type thing to be doing this kind of like pressing type defense, umbrella type, blitz type defense, which if it pays off well. But, you just hear he's an All Black player. He clearly knows exactly what the Springboks do. So they're just too kind of predictable right now.
It was pleasing to see the way we adapted within 6 days or 7 days to the different defences based on the limited prep we had in the Springboks game, but we thought we knew.
Yeah, they already know what they're
how
dealing with.
Defend, and it wasn't too dissimilar to what we've had in recent times against them. But what you get with line speed is less time on the ball to make your decision and execute your skill. So
that is also
you'll
true.
have plans.
But if you can move it quick
those
enough
have to change
get it
if
past the
pitches you
defence
think
to the
are gonna
wings,
be
then
out
you
there,
got loads of
on
time.
the weekend, and
Like we could
we
see
felt
Will
that
Jordan
the
had loads of
Springboks,
time because they got it through the hands quickly.
kind of knew how we wanted to expose that space, and we could hear them talking about it. But again, it's up to you
maybe
to
Bodie's got
back
some.
yourself to execute it,
He
and
maybe
adapt
understands
on the go when
Afrikaans
these
because he
pitches
says he
change.
could hear them
So a
talk
lot
about
of it
it.
is heads up. It's not so much
So much.
pre-prescribed.
Because I know the
Yeah.
guys speak Afrikaans on the
You
field.
do your analysis, and you have to there, but
Sorry, that's not my audio.
you always need plan B or option C, because
And
teams are getting good at changing pictures too. Like, you'll look up in front of you, the ball goes into the scrum, and the whole picture changes. So you call a move based on the initial one, but you have to have those overcalls to exploit where
and
the,
that is,
the changes
you know,
and
something
the
is
spaces.
so
We
important.
used
Plan
example
B, a
last
plan
week
B
with
and a
Geordie's
plan
try,
C.
going back down the short side.
So
and it obviously
important
comes back to
in
an
today's
extra- I actually
game,
thought it was you that
and
called
not
it.
just have
It
one
might have been
game plan.
Caleb. But I feel like this All Blacks team, to start with, the last 2 weeks, you guys have just been real clear. You've looked like you guys have been just real direct, very easy, and it's been really, really easy for you guys. I'm not too sure if you felt like that, but it's been a lot better this year.
The coaches have really collaborated well on both sides of the ball.
What Foster's done well is really brought in Jason
Ryan.
Ryan, which you can see since he's had Jason Ryan there. It's just been a different game. They've just improved so much in their forward play. I don't think they ever had an issue with the back line. It's just the
Flip
forwards.
side of not making a Super Rugby final is you get to go to a camp and work on these things, which we did at the Mount. So we figured out how we wanted to play the game and the direction we wanted
Definitely have.
to
And
go in.
if they keep doing
and
it,
what steps we need to take, the little tactical and technical shifts to allow us to play the game.
Tactical
that we wanna
kicking
play.
so
But
much
yeah,
better.
It's a good start.
You talk about making changes. How much of it is a collaboration between the players and the coaches? Because obviously the coaches have a vision, but you guys are out on the field. How does it work when you are making decisions like that?
Yeah, good question.
I think a
Obviously
lot,
the coaches have had
a lot
months
to
and
do with
months
the
to
coaches.
collaborate, watch other teams, the way and trends, the way they're doing things up north and so on, and the way the trends I've seen in Super Rugby. So they don't want to completely change the way we've been playing in Super Rugby, but in the All Blacks you do things a certain way, and essentially they'll give us a structure or a framework to play to, and you've got 2 or 3 things within that. That's our DNA, and will give us opportunity to.
So I mean,
play.
each team's got their
and that's where
DNA, and
Jason
you
has been
need to
really
stick
good,
to your
for
DNA.
attack,
And I feel the Springboks have kind of lost that
Fozzie's been great around the structure,
around this rugby championship and playing to their DNA, where the All Blacks have really found their DNA.
We've made little changes too.
Playing
so,
a quick type of game, you know?
I think what we're getting is complete buy-in. Everyone's on board. Everyone wants to be there at the business end of the season, and it's
that's
a good
important.
Start. It's only a start, but to beat the Box in Argentina in the first 2
A
weeks.
big start. That's an amazing start.
Happy that we're going in the right direction.
Yep. Maybe going to give us a little bit of an insight around maybe defensively what you're doing in the backfield and trying to help out your wingers and how much communication you have to do.
Like it's very important.
Yeah,
often,
man. I think
so
he's underplaying
want
how
to see us,
well he's connecting with Will
but
Jordan.
then
Maybe he
our
doesn't
running,
realize
covering
it, but
space, 'cause ultimately that's
the connection
what you're
between
looking for.
him and Will Jordan this week had
This might
been
sound like a silly question.
something
How
else.
easy is it to actually communicate? Their backs are to you, you're right behind them.
No,
That is
seriously,
interesting, yeah.
The noise of the stadium.
Yeah.
You play in a place like Mendoza. Look, if they get up early on a scoreboard,
Yep.
it's going to be a festival. Like it's going to be carnage. Like, you won't be able to hear your mate 10 metres away if they get going in terms of singing.
That must be
on.
insane.
So starting well, getting on top of the voice, and that fuels them. So important to start well.
Yeah.
When we did that, like, you could hear a pin drop. Communicating was so easy, which is so rare. You won't get that in France or in New Zealand or.
Yeah, get used to it. You go into the World Cup
signals,
where it's going to be noisy
body
every
language,
single game.
Cues on the run, like, critical, because yes, 13 guys in front of me are facing that way.
Yeah.
There's a lot of eye contact. There's a lot of hand signalling. But you come off the game like you know what it's like. Sometimes you don't have a voice, or you're exhausted and you're screaming the whole game.
It sounds as mentally exhausting as it is physically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Test rugby, it's intense. It is mentally exhausting. A lot goes into a test week.
Can imagine, man. The pressure that sits on these guys' shoulders.
Expressing yourself, but
with a rugby-loving nation like New Zealand, it's obvious.
Have been on the edge, and
it's obviously really difficult.
In that backfield, that pendulum. If they're really clear with you, having micro-comms, saying you've got last or you're second to last in, just the guy on the edge, it's really easy for them to go make a decision. It's really hard if you're not saying anything and then you're like, oh, is he there? And then that's all that indecision. I can imagine at test level, Bodie, that if you miss that there, it's a bridge pass, or it's been able to get a lot of metres.
Absolutely, and
I think it's a good subject because really it was evident on the field that Beauden
put a good shot on, or whenever
was so in connection with Will Jordan. It was insane.
So
there's some kind of telekinetic thing between these two
combinations with
two players.
Wingers, and that was the great thing about the first two tests. We saw Caleb and Amoni in the first, and then Will and Mark. So I think when you meet during the week, you're always talking about the same stuff, but you can't take it for granted going into the next week, so you start all over again. You have
such good options for the All Blacks when it comes to wingers right now.
The outsides.
I wonder what's happened to the likes of guys like Severu Rees. I guess he was getting older, but he was still really good. But guys like those don't even make the team anymore.
Really appreciate your time.
Good to chat.
Anyway, guys, that's interesting there from Bodie. You can clearly see from him that, they understood the Springboks gameplay. I do sometimes wonder when I'm looking at the response from the Springboks and Jacques Nienaber and what they've said in their press conferences. It almost looks like the Springboks are still trying to experiment until it's the 7th or 14th of August. They announced their full squad, and then they will only field the best team. So they were still experimenting against the All Blacks and not actually thinking of outplaying the All Blacks in doing something different to their normal, for instance, defense structures. The All Blacks knew exactly what the Springboks do in their defense structures. They haven't changed anything, and I think our question would be, are the All Blacks actually going to change are the Springboks actually going to change their defense structures? We see the All Blacks making changes. They got Jason Ryan in. They've made many changes. I hope they're going to do this for the Springboks. Will also look at this coming for the World Cup to actually realize that the teams around them kind of know what's up. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, and not just Springbok supporters, All Black supporters, you've also been really good to me. And any other supporter from any other country that's also watching this, hey, if you enjoyed it, you know what to do, guys. It's just down here. Just a little red button. Hit it for me, please. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.